you so much. Shri Radha Kalachandji ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Prabhuji, can you play the Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Jaya Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Kala Chanji Radha Kala Chanji Radhe Jaya Radha Govinda Radhe Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Nitai Gaur Premanande Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Seveya Bhagavatir Uttama-shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 4, Text 29. You want to go to the shloka because people want to see if they want. Aho anatpyam mahadasya pashyata prajapateryasya characharam praja jahasva java javasunyat matamadvyajam sati manasvini manabhikshanamarhati aho anatpyam mahadasya pashyata prajapateryasya characharam praja jahavasunya vimatatmajam sati manasvini manam bhikshanamarhati. Aho anatpyam mahadasya pashyata prajapateryasya characharam praja javasunyad vimatatmaja sati manasvini manam bhikshanamarhati. Aho anatpyam mahadasya yasya sada prajapateryasya characharam prajaha jadvasunyat vimatatmajam sati masvini manam bhikshanamarhati. Aho anatmyam mahadasya pashyata prajapateryasya characharam praja jadvasunyat vimatatmajam sati manasvini manam bhikshanamarhati. Aho anatpyam mahadasya pashyata prajapateryasya characharam praja jadvasunyam vimatatmajamati manasvini manam bhikshanamarhati. Okay. Transliteration. Aho, O, anatmyam, neglect, mahat, great, asya, of Daksha, pashyata, just see, prajapate, of the Prajapati, yasya, of whom, characharam, of all living entities, prajaha, offspring, jaho, gave up, asun, her body, yat, by whom, vimata, disrespected, atmaja, his own daughter, sati, manasvini, voluntarily, manam, respect, abhikshanam, repeatedly, arhati, deserved. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. It was astonishing that Daksha, who was Prajapati, the maintainer of all living entities, was so disrespectful to his own daughter Sati, who was not only chaste but also a great soul, that she gave up her body because of his neglect. Purport. The anatmya is significant. Atmya means the life of the soul. So this word indicates that although Daksha appeared to be living, actually he was a dead body. Otherwise, how could he neglect Sati, who was his own daughter? It was the duty of Daksha to look after the maintenance and comforts of all the living entities, because he was situated as Prajapati, the governor of all living entities. Therefore, how is it that he neglected his own daughter, who was the most exalted and chaste woman, a great soul, and who therefore deserved the most respectful treatment from her father? The death of Sati, because of her being neglected by Daksha, her father, was most astonishing to all the great demigods of the universe. Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilatam Yenam Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. So, as we see in this shloka, in the previous word, Sati actually, by her own Vedic and mystic potency of her purity, of her chastity, was actually able to self-immolate herself. In the previous chapters and the shlokas, Shiva does explain to actually Sati that words of pain caused by an enemy are far lesser compared to those which are caused by one's own relative. So he actually pre-warns Sati by not going to this sacrifice, in spite of knowing that she is going to be disrespected. One should also know the history that though Daksha was asked to act like this, there is a pre-forman story that Sati was the daughter of Daksha, but also Daksha had many other daughters. And Swadhya was one of the daughters of Daksha, and she was actually destined to marry the Pitru Devatas. And from them, there was a daughter which was supposed to be beget called Menaka. So, when Sati immolates herself, obviously, as the pastime goes, the Leela goes, that the sacrifice is performed eventually and Shiva gets the oblations of the sacrifice. But obviously, Sati is reborn as Parvati. So, Menaka, who is married, actually is a daughter which is begetted by the Swadhas and Pitru Devatas. She is actually married to Himavan, which is the Himalayas. So, Parvati is then born actually as the daughter of Menaka and Himavan. And that's how she is actually destined to be in Kailasha. This goes the pastime. Now, why one can say, was Daksha supposed to act like this? In fact, all of this is Leelas and pastimes which is supposed to make us learn. It is not that Daksha was a bad personality. Thought was induced in him to show disrespect to Shiva. And the reason for that is because the son born out of Parvati and Shiva was Kartikeya, was supposed to slay a demon called Taraka. So for all of this to happen, these Leelas has to happen. And some of it is already predestined. So in material world, things are also controlled by Adi Devatas and individual living entities. But pastimes also happen in the spiritual world and the Devatas. And some things are already destined to happen. So, of course, the one thing which is important to learn from here is Daksha was supposed to give respect to his son-in-law as a sthanam. Though Daksha is as the father-in-law of Shiva and father of Sati, but the thing is, it is not required for Shiva, the disrespect shown, that he had to stand up to his father-in-law. That is the aspect of sthanam. In material universe, we may give respect to our boss and other people. But in spiritual life and even family life, respect to elders is actually very, very prescribed according to Vedic principles. Like we show respect to our spiritual masters and respect to our parents. Like in Taittiriya Upanishad, it is said, first is Matru Devato Bhava, then Pitru Devato Bhava, then Acharya Devato Bhava, then Atiti Devato Bhava. The first respect is always to be shown to one's mother. even before a spiritual master. The mother is always the first, indirect or direct. She is the spiritual master of every living entity which is born out of a womb, actually. Any mammal which is there. That is why, whether we say from a spiritual life, we worship Radharani or Guru, the respect of mother is very profound in our Sanatana Dharma and Vedic civilization, actually. So, actually speaking, Daksha, in spite of him being the father, as a mental respect, he had to show a lot of respect to Sati, because a chaste woman is always to be respected in these three worlds, irrespective. It is always to given way to her. Of course, the definition of chaste is defined in Vedic Shastras, we don't need to get into it. But the pure definition of chaste means chastity by not just by act, by even by thought and word one should be chaste. That is the real definition of chastity. This is the utopian definition, and Sati exemplifies it completely, without a doubt. So that is why Daksha, by committing this offense, he has actually fallen down, and that is why it is said that anatmyam means basically that the life of the soul. He is equivalent to a dead body, because one who has consciousness should be able to realize that which is sattvam, rajas and tamas. One should know between what is right and wrong. So in that state of mind, out of being puffed that he was the Prajapati of the living entities, he forgot that what Sati had come, he should not have shown disrespect to her. And so he lost all of his prowess and his spiritual progress at that time. So eventually, of course, she gives up her body, and that the pastime happens where she is eventually born as Parvati, and she does penance to attain Lord Shiva. The other thing is important is this, in this shloka, we see in today's world that the qualities which are exalted of people who, as in Bhagavad Gita it is said, if we read from Canto chapter 16 and the shloka 1 to 3, which says the divine and demonic qualities. So one of the things which actually is written there is the word called Abhijatasya, is that which is born out of transcendental qualities. So to beget a child in godly atmosphere with godly tendencies is very significant. One example we can say is Sutapa and Srini did penance for thousands of years to obtain Lord Sri Krishna as their son. So this shows in today's world that, as Prabhupada writes in the purport, that if a person wants a child in godly qualities, they should follow the principles for social life, and they should be in Krishna conscious, they should do tapas, dhanam, because spiritual practice is only one thing, but without tapas, austerity, without sacrifice, without penance, without donation could be by word, thought or deed, whatever is yatha shakti, these things actually attribute to one's sattva gunam. Because of a jivatma of prarabdha karma, all of us, we have prarabdha karma. It cannot be extinguished just by certain activities. So it should either be by tapas, whether we chant Lord Krishna's names, by penance, by serving to humanity or devotees. So these things are very important. So that is why Prabhupada says that those who are in Krishna consciousness, or those at least who have spiritual realization, should not try to beget children like dogs and cats. Or at least when we have children, we should do the best to actually give them the qualities. For example, you would see generally most parents, when they come, even if the child is only few months of age or even less than a year, they will make the child bow down in the temple. They will force them to put it down their head. This is the first start. This is what is to be done. The child, by its internal consciousness, when it's in the womb, as Kapila Dev has explained, it knows its constitutional position. But the moment it comes out of the womb, it has its prarabdha karma, and that sanchita karma will also take place. But it is the responsibility of the parents to actually educate the child about what is Sanatana Dharma, what is Athato Brahma Jigyasoho, without knowing spiritual realization, without of knowing about Jivatma and Paramatma, it is like leaving someone like a free rein. Nowadays, in today's world, many people say that children should be left. Yes, everyone has their independence. Even when a child grows, whether it be in the outside elements in school or somewhere else, it has the independence. But at a young age, it is the foreborn duty of the mother and father to at least educate at least the basic principles of what is life, what is Jivatma, what is Paramatma, what is Bhagavan's glories, what is name. And this is the most important thing. Daksha unfortunately forgot about this in spite of having such a wonderful, chaste daughter. One should see that as in this divine and demonic qualities, as Krishna also says, right? Charity is for householders. And charity may not be saying one has to give everything. Whatever is possible by one's capability, by heart, is what is required. As Krishna says, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam Yome Bhakta Prachayati. So whatever is possible by one's heart, one should donate. Gajendra took the lotus from the lake he was and he offered to Bhagavan Vishnu. An elephant can offer a flower. We could offer much more than that. That is a simple answer. One can even pluck a flower from a tree and offer to Bhagavan Krishna. So these are examples which are given. Again, Daksha was completely blinded by his power of the sacrifice he did. And because of the disrespect shown to the whole to Sati, which is a chaste woman, the whole sacrificial fire and arena completely got contaminated. It lost its luster, actually speaking. The other thing just to share as part of this Leela and pastime, which some people may know, is, of course, after all of this is done and Daksha is slain, that Shiva carries the body of Sati and he engages in a Tandava dance, and he causes about to cause the destruction of the universe. So at that time, Lord Vishnu takes his Sudarshana Chakra and he actually cuts Sati's body, and it is cut into 52 parts. And some will know that these 52 places, each organ of Sati has fallen in different places in India, and they are worshipped as Shakti Pidas. Some may know some places like in Bengal as Kali Ghat. There is in Madurai, there's Meenakshi, which is the eyes. Kamakshi in Kanchipuram, which is the navel, and there are so and so forth places which are worshipable for those who follow the Shaivite tradition and so and so things. But the most important thing to know is that spiritual knowledge and charity go hand in hand. Without knowledge, without proper knowledge, one cannot understand faith, and without faith, one cannot get respect, and without respect, one cannot develop love. Actually, one can have material love is different, but true love, love only comes when there is respect. In any bhavam, we call Santaras, Vatsalya, Dasya, Madhurya Ras, there is always respect which is present. Though respect is not in the traditional sense of saluting someone, it is from within the Atma. The respect comes from within, actually. It is not by respect of material bodily conception. It is from a Jivatma conception, actually. So that is the aspect. Also, sacrifice which is mentioned, which is also to be performed. Because for parents also, obviously every mother and father do sacrifice actually in any sense. But at the same point, it is also important that sacrifice by chanting the holy names of the Lord and offering footsteps to Krishna, these are also called indirect sacrifice. So the study of Vedic knowledge and sacrifice of chanting by holy names, by doing tapas, by doing sankirtanam, whatever one is possible, is also important for those who are interested in spiritual life and progress, and also to beget progeny in that way. Whether the progeny takes to further spiritual life, that is its own journey. But the best way we can say is, it is the duty and responsibility of every mother and father, at least in the Vedic civilization or Sanatana Dharma, to at least educate their child in these basic concepts. Otherwise, the mother and father have done disservice by bringing the Jivatma into this life. Whether they do it or no, that is up to them. But this is what it is said, actually speaking. Another thing is ahimsa. We can see that Daksha, obviously, he created himsa itself. He didn't do himsa by physical activity, but himsa by action and even by words, which he should not have done. This is why one of the important aspect of Brahmanical quality, which we say is simplicity, tapas, but also of ahimsa. Being a vegetarian is only one aspect, but ahimsa by thought is also important, actually. So, in order to surrender to Lord, one should know that one should follow anukula sankalpaspa, means not doing those things which are favorable to Bhagavan or to Bhagavatas or to devotional service. Many times questions are asked where people say that we chant, we don't get progress. Because the problem is, you may not do any physical harm, but mentally you are doing harm by thinking wrong about someone. Indirectly. How to curb the thought? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Cheto darpana marjanam bhavama davagni nirvapanam. One should chant Lord Krishna's name. Incessant chanting is only way to purify oneself. Of course, there are 10 offenses which we chant. One should not blaspheme the devotees. Another thing I would like to bring as part of this Leela is, many times unfortunately people look down as other devotees of, may they not be Vaishnavas, who may be Shaivites or following, we tend to look down upon them that they are worshipping some secondary devata. Actually, that itself is causing offense. Think about it, like Sati is a chaste woman. Can any of us say, if Parvati or Sati were to come here, we are more elevated than her because we chant Hare Krishna? Impossible. That itself is a folly, actually. That goes against the principle which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has said is Tranadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Sahishnuna. We have already become puffed. So, the moment that thought itself comes means progress is gone. So, that thought should not come. This is why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has stressed Tranadapi Sunicha so much. It is not just showing respect to only those people who are favorable. One should not be disrespectful also as much as possible. Yes, we live in a material universe. We live in a practical environment where we work. Those things are different. But at the same point, one important thing is also that parents should also know that they should also respect the child. Actually, this is a very important aspect. Respect is out of love. It is not a respect where one is expecting that. Of course, if you get a child like Prahlada Maharaj or a Kapila Dev, that is a different, unique capability, for a parent to achieve that. But at the same point, the respect is out of love. So in any relationship, we see there is always respect which is present. So similarly, because when in Krishna consciousness we say, or in Sanatana Dharma, for a father and mother, even when they beget a child, the child also enhances the mother and father's experience in life and makes them mature. So they have to be indirectly indebted to the child. I mean, only a father and mother can answer this, saying that, yes, has it enriched my experience, by me serving them. So service means servitude indirectly, and that is respect, but not in the traditional respect of bowing down. So that is why we say that ahimsa and thought is very important. Another thing is akrodha, is to check anger. Sometimes, yes, we are all jivatmas who have taken a particular body, and based of our karma, we will have tendencies of anger and may have different personalities. But there is important that one should try to control one's anger, or at least regulate it, right? Yes, no one can say, one cannot be like completely renounced always, but one cannot be. That is why these words of ahimsa, saucham, cleanliness, these qualities which are of divine nature, truthfulness, are very important to be followed day to day life, and especially for parents when they are raising their children, because children always look the first, they will have hundreds of influences outside, whether they go to school, they go outside, they see TV, they interact with other people, but the first influence at least is always the mother and father as far as possible in the home. Hence it is very important as much as possible to have that feeling of love and affection, not in a material sense, of a spiritual nature in the home. That is why we say, as Grahastha Ashrama, one should chant, one should offer Krishna Prasad. Of course, in addition to taking care of children and taking them out, or whatever is responsibilities to educate them and everything. But at the same time, things like akrodham, ahimsa, tapas, why we should do charity? Because children, when they see their parents also do charity, it helps them actually also understand what is the importance of charity. Charity doesn't mean whether you do in the temple or you go donate to other people or whatever one can do, even physically you can help someone, right? Book distribution also is a dhanam, actually speaking. If we see, many of devotees do book distribution. It is actually charity only. One is spending one's time to dedicate to spread Krishna consciousness, right? So actually we are doing charity in a way, and children and parents seeing that also encourages them actually to come to this fold, that these are the aspects of what is Vedic civilization, what are the qualities of Brahmana, and how one should be actually. So the chapter of Daksha, of course, impounds on certain things as to why, because of his puffed up ego, he lost his connection of respecting his own daughter, who was so chaste actually. So we see that the other important which I would like to say is there's another quality which I want to bring out. So there's Swadhyaya, which is the Vedic study, which is meant for Brahmacharya. Generally speaking, at least at a young age, doesn't matter it's a boy or a girl, it is important. Of course, today's world we may study in a material school, or doesn't matter, university we study. But at the same point, it is important to imbibe some kind of Vedic study in their day-to-day practice or something. It doesn't need to be every day. It of course depends. Each mother and father knows the best what is the inclination of the child is, because every jivatma is unique. So every parent needs to know what is the best way to actually encourage the child to progress in Krishna consciousness, or encourage it actually to awaken its love for Bhagavan. And of course eventually, which means coming in contact with a spiritual master. Now some devotees and some jivatmas are fortunate to come in contact, if they are born in devotee families, to have contact with a guru or spiritual master from a very young age. Some are not. But whatever is the journey of the jivatma, that at least we should encourage, or we have the ability to actually influence them. So as we can see in this chapter actually, that how Daksha, unfortunately, he actually, because of his disrespect to a chaste woman and someone who is a Bhagavata, because one should understand that chastity is not something which is to a inordinate object. It is actually to a personality. It is actually to a person. So she is actually chaste to her husband. So by causing disrespect to him, Daksha already caused disrespect to Shiva, who is also a Mahabhagavata. As we know, Lord Shiva is not an ordinary devotee of Lord Krishna. So obviously any offense done to the wife is going to the husband. So Daksha unfortunately offended Lord Shiva as well. Of course, we know in the Leela that eventually he is revived, his head is joined and with the head of a goat, and he actually asks forgiveness from Lord Shiva, and he is forgiven. The one thing about Vedic knowledge we can see in every pastime is there is always tapas, damas, austerity and forgiveness. So there is never like a concept of one is always damned forever. Prayashchitam is also important. So only when one has saucham, one has ahimsa, one is akrodham, then actually one can allow oneself to be humble enough to actually ask forgiveness. Otherwise, those who are having complete himsa, they generally will not have the ability to go and ask forgiveness. They will feel that we are doing always right. And that comes because of the conception that they are too attached to the body. Only when one is detached from the body, then one realizes. Why? Because that this body is temporary and only Jivatma is there. So that's why one has to be humble to surrender. The other thing which I just want to bring up is if we see in some of the Bhagavan's qualities, which we see is so why Bhagavan is always, in all these cases we see that Daksha is disrespected, but why in the end of the day, why we say surrender to Krishna? Why? Because he is that which is, it says, Anadir Bhurbhuvo Lakshmi Suviro Ruchirangadaha. He is not realized because of their ignorance. He is only realized out of love and affection. So, devotees or Bhagavata should understand that only by surrender and humility one can understand Bhagavan. Sati obviously understood, Daksha did not understand. We see these cases of Ambarish, of Durvasa Muni was in a state of rage, but eventually he surrendered. So it is very important for Bhagavatas to understand that these examples are given for us to understand to the concept of realization. In fact, we talk about parenting. Dasharatha, of course, we know when Lord Rama, Lakshmana, Bharata and Satrughna were born, Dasharatha was very happy and pious, and he made sure that Lord Rama and his brothers were educated in the right way with Vishwamitra Muni. Same thing with Lord Krishna. Even though Krishna was a cowherd boy, Nanda Maharaj made sure that in addition to him grazing the cows, Krishna was educated. He was also sent to the Rishi's ashrama to learn everything. So we see in time and again in all the examples given in Bhagavatam and other Vedic Shastra that education not just for occupation, education for spiritual realization is also important. And only then people will eventually become parents. They have the realization actually to beget good progeny and make sure that they don't actually commit offenses. And of course, if one is fortunate enough to beget a child like Parvati or Sati or Prahlada Maharaj, then that means we can know how much penance and sacrifice they have done. So I will end the class today in the context of this shlokam. If people have any comments and thoughts, they can add.
Thank you, Prabhu. I had a question. I was wondering that we understand Sati was so chaste towards her husband that when she heard the offense and the insult, she could not, she thought it's best to give up her body. But why did she not think that the same husband who she cares so much for would be extremely devastated seeing her, dead because of him? And I was wondering there could be other ways she could have done penances and other steps she could have taken which would not cause so much pain to her husband. So why give up the body?
So that's where that's a good question. So the first thing is this: by her chastity, obviously she could have even I shouldn't say the word revenge. She could have also have Daksha suffer, but as her position as a daughter, it is not wrong. It is wrong actually for the daughter to ever speak against the father that way. That shows the respect of her chastity and how pure she is. Secondly, as I mentioned, there is a reason why Sati had to end her body this way. Why those Shakti Pitas had to be formed in India and why Parvati had to be born. As I mentioned, Swadhyā was one of the daughter of Daksha. It was already predestined that these things have to happen. So these are all, like for example, Lord Vishnu or birth of Lord Krishna is transcendental. Same thing, I won't want to say Adi Devatas are different, but personalities like Lord Shiva and Parvati, we say expansion is Subhadra and many other things, Mahamaya, Yogmaya. These are all not ordinary personalities. These Leelas are supposed to happen. So, that this is, the explanation is not mine. This is given by other acharyas. That these events are bound to happen like this. The explanation of Daksha to be happening like this is an example for us. So, Sati could have taken this stance in many ways. She could have annihilated the sacrifice completely and come back to Lord Shiva that, yes, you told me. But her body was already pure. So these places of Shakti Pitam and Sthalam had to be formed in India. They have to be formed. For example, they are present in India. And as we know that not everyone is supposed to come, we can say we are worshipping Lord Krishna as supreme. But all of this, as we say, to blaspheme the Vedic literature or literature in persons of Vedic version, that is number 3. So, people who worship other devatas, they may be wrong as Krishna says, but they are not incorrect. They are still pious. They are actually living in Sattva Gunam. So, it is a way of those devotees or Jivatmas to elevate themselves. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Bahunam Janmanamante Jnanamam Mam Prapadyate. One human birth, one doesn't become Krishna conscious. One takes countless million human births, innumerable births, and only then they say Vasudeva Sarvamiti. So one has to come to the, like, this may be my, I don't know how many lifetimes I have taken. I would have worshipping other devatas too, right? It is only we realize that they lead us to the path. So these pastimes happens, yes, Sati could have done many things different way, but the union born out of Shiva and Parvati is Kartikeya, which happens to happen to slay a demon. So that cannot happen because of this. Now, we could say interpret like that would have happened, but that which is destined by devatas is, or Bhagavan, is how it's supposed to happen. Like Vasudeva and Devaki, they did penance for so many years. They don't need to do penance, na? Bhagavan would have said, I will just born. Right? His sankalpam, his wish is enough. But he wants to show example to us. Ajamila also. Ajamila is a pastime. Can all of us say we can be like Ajamila? No. Exceptions cannot be norm for common people like that. So the answer to your question again is, Sati could have done many things to absolve Daksha and not cause hurt to Lord Shiva. But as we know, I mean, this is mentioned in other Puranas and Upanishads that though Sati's body is immolated, there is her material, we say as a material, the physical perceivable body gets immolated. The spiritual body is not immolated actually of Sati. So she is always with Lord Shiva. That is actually explained. Yes, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Just I want to add little things to the same.
Sure, please. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, I mean, in addition to what he said, I view like actually Lord Shiva is a great devotee. And also, as per Brahma Samhita and many other Puranas, he is like equal to Krishna, but like a transformed form.
Correct.
Okay? It's like almost Krishna only. And also scripture says, one who is, offending Lord, then we should not be there in that, we should not be hearing, it's like a death. She has resembled, she has showed that, and also it's like her physical body has given by Daksha. She doesn't want that body.
Yes.
at all, because
That's what it
Daksha
is.
offended a lot. So to teach a lesson, she has given up her body. Yeah, that's what I wanted.
I mean, I'm just cutting. There's a large explanation. Actually, after immolation, her spiritual body becomes like a effulgence and is stored in Himavan Parvatam. It is like Parashakti. And actually, then after Menaka is born, from the womb she goes and prays, and that Parashakti enters the womb of Menaka and Himavan, and that's how Parvati is born. And from the time of Parvati itself, her birth, she is destined with realization that Lord Shiva is my husband. I mean, I've just said this in 3 sentences. This explanation is almost like 50, 100 pages. That's all I will say.
You mentioned a few times about kind of the worshippers of demigods and how we should be, we shouldn't be disrespectful towards them. We can see that probably in previous lives we've also done similar things. I'm thinking kind of practically though, if someone says, Shiva is Bhagavan, what would our response kind of be in that situation? How do we respond to that without being offensive or?
It's we don't. One should understand that we should not try to the word of convincing someone is not within our power. This is the first thing I'll answer your question, but this is a very good question you're asking. We cannot convince anyone on the street saying Lord Krishna is supreme. If you go to someone from any point or something else, you cannot just go and convince him. You'll say, who in Kali Yuga, the first thing will come is, first, what are you telling me and who are you to tell me? This is the standard, this is the nature of Kali Yuga actually. No one likes to be told they are wrong. And the question is, who are you to tell me you are wrong? This is the nature of Kali Yuga. Now, of course, coming to someone says Shiva is Bhagavan, it's an indirect way they are worshipping Lord Krishna. So we should respect the Jiva, the Paramatma which is present inside him, that he is worshipping an expansion of Lord Shiva. And we should bow down to him and say thank you as a Jivatma. We should give respect. We should always, that is what we should be. Why? Because if we see in Bhagavad Gita, the shloka says, Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Gramine Giva Hastini. Learned person, one who sees everyone as Jivatma. So we should also give respect to him. After all, he is not worshipping some film star or politician or some party leader. That's the truth. He's not worshipping some, I don't want to take any names in a Bhagavatam class, but he's at least worshipping some Vedic deity or, spiritual personality. So we should be respectful to him. We don't need to go and, if the opportunity arises, that's why we say Tad Vidhi Pranipatena, means if the opportunity arises that he himself wants to engage, and sometimes we can pass a book, we can say sometimes we do book distribution or we preach. Because we know in Bhagavad Gita, Chaturvidha Bhajante Mam, right? Everyone takes time to realize certain things. So he may be happily situated in his state, but he may come, maybe sometimes he's distressed, so we can give a book to him, we can point it to him. If he asks a discussion, then we can go into that. But we shouldn't go and offend and say, you are wrong or this is this way. That is not the right mode of preaching, because I won't say even the word preaching. Krishna consciousness is about showing love and affection and caring for Jivatma. A Vaishnava is one who understands the pain of others as us. So instead of saying that you are saying Lord Krishna is supreme, Lord Shiva is not supreme, we should ask him, do you have any difficulty in your life? Can I help you in some way? That is more productive. Can I give you some prasadam? This is one way. Right? If you give him a glass of water, he would be more pleased first. If you give him prasadam, he will be more pleased. It's like that. A Vaishnava is one who needs to understand what is his pain. We only think from aspect of yes to change. But are we there to emotionally understand the Jivatma's pain? What he's going? After all, he is living in a body. Even I have a material body. Right? We talk about amongst ourselves devotees. I mean, it's okay. Some things are personal. People may not want to share their pain and other things are happening. But it is nothing wrong to ask, how is your day? What is going? Develop a loving relationship, right? And then go to that. But we shouldn't go and right away offend to say, I am going to, because the thing about, even to say this, as Prabhupada says, we do book distribution, we preach, we want people to come to Krishna consciousness. It is not about forcefully thrusting the philosophy to them. Prabhupada has also said, when people come, we feed them prasadam. In fact, we have read so many times, majority of Bhagavatas and devotees have come to become devotees of eating Krishna prasadam. Right? Even in 6th Avenue, New York, when Prabhupada was there, all the devotees who were coming, they were living with Prabhupada. Prabhupada didn't thrust saying, yes, they took up to chanting, they got initiated, but many of them used to just come and eat prasadam and go away. As we read, Prabhupada never said that, oh, if you only chant, I will feed you prasadam. So that is not the right way to do. So, but at the same point, to answer your question, someone who is worshipping other Vedic entities or devatas, we should be respectful to them. They are at least worshipping something towards the path of Vedic realization. Because as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, eventually they come to that stage. We are no one to determine who takes when. As Prabhupada said, our duty is to give. It is the personal journey between Krishna and the Jivatma. Krishna can take the Jivatma in 1 second back to his abode, or whatever is his relation and love between them. Like that. I hope that. Yeah. Yes, Prabhuji.
We have Banasura example, right? Banasura is a great devotee of the Lord Shiva. When they have fight between Krishna and Banasura, actually Krishna did not kill Banasura. There is different reasons, like Prahlad lenience, and we have, and also finally what he makes, like he makes Shiva's devotee only. I mean, he actually makes himself to go to Kailas and makes himself to serve Lord Shiva. It's like a boon given to him. And also Lord Shiva, again, as we discussed earlier, he is like Krishna only, like a transformed form. And even when he showed his Viswarupa, one of his shoulder is like completely is like Lord Shiva only. And indirectly, if somebody is worshipping Lord Shiva, there is like at least some partial person, indirectly they are worshipping Lord Krishna only. So we may not agree like Lord Shiva is Bhagavan. Yes, as per our Sampradaya, for us the Supreme is like Krishna, and we obey to that, and we convey that. Whether they will agree that or not, it's like a discussion. And also we respect others, like whether somebody is worshipping, it's like as Prabhu said, like all Vedic, these are all like a Vedic, like Krishna's body only. They are worshipping different parts. At least they are worshipping different parts other than worshipping something else. So we may have to take in that sense, and we must respect instead of criticizing or something. At least show some knowledge. I mean, we at least try to provide some knowledge. Let them make themselves elevate to their consciousness. I think Krishna will provide definitely knowledge to them.
I mean, we are not saying, just to add further, is we are not saying we leave them, but you have to judge individually based on personality, right? Sometimes people are in a, why I say this is because we come right away saying, oh, we see this devotee of Lord or any other devata they are worshipping. He may have other things in his mind that day. You know what I'm saying? He may not be receptive. So, but most important is we have to give respect to them. That's important. That's it. Respect doesn't mean saying we are encouraging them. That's okay. Because the worst thing you can do is stop them from doing what they're doing and they go to something else. Right? This is at least in the path. If you stop that, if they go worship some Charatan guru or something else, then we have done disservice to the Jivatma. So, yeah.
Haribo. On that point, I remember hearing in a Bhagavatam class once that they defined what is the role or what is the goal of a preacher, and your goal is simply to bring someone closer to Krishna. That's your goal. And so sometimes we think, oh, that means I have to spout verses at them, or I have to tell them about the glories of Krishna and why he's Bhagavan and everybody else is not Bhagavan. But really, as an all-rounded preacher, your goal is just to bring someone closer to Krishna. And what that looks like will differ on the person who you're trying to speak to. If the person is someone who's a very avid follower of Shivji, and that's their Ishtadev, that's fine. Like so many Prabhu and both Prabhu said, that that is a plenary portion of Krishna. So indirectly they're worshipping. And even Prabhupada says in a class, like, I think a disciple was complaining, saying, oh, this devotee, he's always come to the temple, but he's all about Shivji, and he reads that in our scriptures it says the importance of Vaishnava, like, oh, Krishna is more happy when you serve the Vaishnavas. So he took from that means only Shiva, that if I worship Shiva, Krishna will be happy. And so they were complaining like, oh, he's thinking like this. Prabhupada said, that's okay. He's serving Shiva, that's fine. You pray to Shivji and Shivji will guide you. Shivji, as a devotee of Shivji, you think, what pleases Shivji the most? My dad always says this a lot. He says, as a Shiva follower, you think, okay, if I'm a follower of someone, what pleases that person the most? Like if you go to Hanuman, will Hanuman be more happy if you're worshipping Hanuman or if you're worshiping Ram? What would Hanuman tell you? So a lot of times the people they're praying, but for their own personal benefit. But we should understand what pleases Krishna, what pleases Shivji, what pleases our Ishtadev more. And that's real service, right? And so coming back to the point of preaching, it's just, when you're speaking to someone, you want to just bring them closer to Krishna. And if that means you don't have to say very harsh words or you have to say very kind words, that is up to your intelligence and what Krishna will provide you at that moment. But just understand that everything you do, whether it's just giving prasadam, maybe that's it. Maybe right now they're not in a state of consciousness where they can even begin to question what is the absolute truth and what is Krishna and who is Bhagavan, what is my purpose. Give them prasadam. Then maybe their consciousness will go up, and then one day they'll ask this question.
Any other thoughts or comments?
I guess I just have a small follow-up, kind of not a real discussion question, I guess, but do we also treat followers of non-Vedic gods in the same way? Just give them prasadam, or
as I said, we have to respect. They are Jivatmas. They are also part and parcel of Krishna. So we, of course, if we get an opportunity to pass them prasadam or anything which is books of Prabhupada or anything, absolutely we should. We are not saying we are restricting. But, again, this comes with the practical discernment, right, of where they are and what they are. People of Vedic followers, they know a little bit more in certain sense, right? So it doesn't mean we respect one more or the less. Respect has to be more or less equanimous, right? If one is truly at that realized state. But still, we are not saying we should differentiate between non-Vedic and Vedic, right? Of course, if one is non-Vedic, then that's a different topic of discussion of how you educate them with what is Vedic civilization and everything, right? Because that's a different, how they have been brought up and what their journey could be. But that one who is following Vedic scripture and civilization, or devatas, then it's a different topic of how you take the discussion, as Abhay added and many others have added, right? But yes, we should obviously give Krishna Prasad to them. We should give Prabhupada book to them. That is always the case. So we are not saying we differentiate one or the other. For us, everyone is the same. It doesn't matter which country you are, what personality you are, what you follow.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. I really appreciating this answer. As somebody who's hasn't grown up in Vedic society, or I don't mean this by any disrespect, or Hindu society where you live in a place where everybody's, worshiping these, other gods. I came into Krishna consciousness and Srila Prabhupada said, Krishna is the CEO of everything, and that's the way it is.
Yeah.
And we go, yes, Srila Prabhupada. And so then when somebody else comes and says, no, but this is the CEO of everything, and we go, nope, Srila Prabhupada has said this. But I'm really, so I kind of squirm when I hear these other things because I just don't have the perspective of a bigger perspective. But I do appreciate that this thought of being respectful to everyone
Of
at
course.
every